Hi there. We're beginning a journey through the Psalms. The Psalms is the book of 150 prayers, songs, benedictions, blessings, crying out to God that we find right in the middle of our scriptures. And it's fitting that they are there because they are so much the center of what the Bible is about: worship, praise, honor of God. The Psalms are gathered from a whole variety of sources. Many of them are attributed to David or are Davidic in nature. That means they're written in the form that David would have known. There are also psalms from Asaph, from Solomon, even one from Moses there. So there are psalms drawn from many different sources and written over a wide period of time. In Hebrew, they're called Tehillim. Tehillim is the Hebrew word for praises. The Psalms word itself is quite a strange word. It comes from the Greek word psallo, which means to play with an instrument or to make music with an instrument. So the Psalms are definitely music. They're definitely songs. They're definitely to be sung. And one thing we lose actually in our English translation sometimes is the rhythm and the beauty of the Hebrew original poetry. But the psalm is particularly in English is a word that talks about these 150 poems and songs, but we need to just keep hold of the fact that they are praises, they are worship. They're not just nice poems, they are focusing on worship of God. The Psalms are divided into 5 books, and each book ends with a blessing to God. It ends with a small insertion of praise, and they're numbered 1 to 41, 42 to 72, Psalm 73 to 89, Psalm 90 to 106, and the final section 107 to 150. And if you look at the end of each psalm that ends the sections, you'll find just a very short word of blessing. So we're looking today at Psalm 1. Psalm 1, the very first word of the book of Psalms, a Hebrew word ashrei, which is quite difficult to translate in a sense. Some translations have blessed, some have happy. It really comes from a word originally that means straight and upright and going forward. And it says, is the man. And then it says something very interesting. This psalm talks about discernment. This psalm talks about making choices. And it says, how content, how blessed, how upright, how happy is the man who has decided against choosing the wrong path. Discernment and discrimination are a really important part of following God. We have to be able to discern between what is good and what is evil, what is of God and what is not of God. And here at the beginning of the Psalms is this paean saying that those who choose against evil and for God's word are going to stand. They're going to be blessed. They're going to be fruitful. And it says here that the person who doesn't walk in the ways of the sinner, doesn't walk in the ways of the evil one, doesn't sit in the seat of scoffers, how blessed they're going to be, how happy, ashrei, they're going to be. One of the sons of Israel, by the way, was called Asher, which means glad, which is a similar root to this word. And the gladness comes from the concentration on the Torah of the Lord. Now, we've said elsewhere before that Torah is not a word that should be translated necessarily as law. Law is a very narrow interpretation of what Torah is. Torah, after all, describes the first 5 books of the Hebrew scriptures, and that contains the whole story of creation, of redemption of God, of the establishment of the covenant with Abraham, of the taking down of the people into Egypt, of the rescue by Joseph. It's an amazing story, and then it goes into the rescue from Egypt, the coming into encounter with God in the desert, the establishment of the tabernacle and the priesthood, and the encounters of God with his people in the desert. It's an amazing story. So this is what it says: the righteous man, the happy man, will make his delight. He will delight in the stories, in the encounters of God found in these established stories of God in Torah. But it says that the wicked are not so. Those who choose against God will actually just come to nothing. They're blown away like the chaff. They will not stand when it comes to the judgment. And that word is a very important word in Hebrew, the word mishpat. It means the balancing up. If we choose continually against God, in the balancing up there will be loss, because actually it's the good that endures. It is the good that is endorsed. And therefore, if we choose against the good, then the psalm here says that we can expect to be blown away like the chaff. The other thing that is said about the one who chooses the ways of God is that they will be fruitful. They will be like trees planted beside streams, and that's like irrigation canals, streams of water, streams that are made for the growth and for the fruitfulness of the crops, and that their leaf will not wither. And in all they do, they will prosper. B'kol asher oseh yatzliach, it says in the Hebrew. In everything he does, he will prosper. He will be fruitful. And therefore there is in this wonderful psalm a promise of fruitfulness if we will say no to that which distracts, that which pulls us away from God. Let's continue then to make those choices for God. And let's, as we go through the Psalms, let's continue to see how we make those choices for God, particularly in the area of putting him first and saying no to those things which are not God, those things which are less than him, so that our works can endure. Have a very good day.